Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Career Advice Series webinar, How to Fall Back in Love with the Law Practice. I am Emily Roshek, Associate Director of the newly enhanced ABA Legal Career Central, a career center that offers both career development resources and a job board for law students, lawyers, and other legal professionals across all disciplines and career stages. Today's moderator is Casey Berman. He is an ABA Legal Career Central board member and founder of the community and blog Leave Law Behind. Thank you for being here, Casey. I'll turn it over to you.
Emily, thank you so much, and so happy to have everyone here. Everyone, my name, as you can see, is Casey Berman, and I graduated University of California, Hastings College of Law here in San Francisco in 1999, and I run Leave Law Behind, which is a blog and community really focused on helping attorneys, unhappy attorneys, leave the law for non-law jobs and alternative careers. So that's really what my focus has been, and I am very excited to have a friend of mine, Adam Ouellette, on today, who's going to talk about how, for those of us who do not want to leave the law, but rather want to look to kind of refresh and enjoy the law and be happier in the law. Adam is not only a friend of mine, but a very experienced attorney, almost 20 years in a number of areas, real estate, banking, litigation in Florida. And just more recently, where he and I have connected, he's an author, a speaker. He's a founder of Esquire Academy, which is a programming course he's put together to help attorneys love the law and really optimize their practice. And he and I work together on what we've just launched, a Love or Leave podcast, which is a podcast that we've done around love or leaving the law. So, Adam, great to have you, and I'm excited to talk to you today.
Excited to be here, Casey. Thanks for allowing me to be part of this.
Yeah.
And let me just give everybody a little bit of background on myself. I've been an attorney for a long time. I practiced a lot of different areas. My main focus was real estate for many years, but I've done banking law, represented banks and closings, a lot of different kinds of litigation, including family law, condo law, probate, guardianships. I've never done personal injury or criminal law, but I have run the gamut on most types of law, and so I understand how to be a lawyer, and I understand how to run a law firm. And part of what we're going to teach you today is what they didn't teach you in law school. I've also written a book, as Casey said. I wrote it for you as lawyers, Raising the Bar. It's called Turning a Law Career You Hate into a Life You Love. And one of the things that Casey and I just recently launched is a podcast. It's for lawyers, and it basically is find ways to love the law or get out. The fact is, as we all know, it's a difficult thing to be a lawyer. I've spoken to thousands of lawyers over the years because I've dealt with lots of them and lots of friends that are lawyers. And one of the things I always get feedback from if they're one-on-one with me is that the law is a difficult place to be. And I know. I've been where you all have been. I understand how difficult it can be to be a lawyer. And part of my mission, and Casey's mission as well, is to help lawyers to figure out their lives a little bit better, to figure out ways to love what you're doing, or find something that you can love. My goal for you today is to learn, as I call them, keys. Now, we're not going to go through all these keys. I've got 7 keys that I go through in a webinar that takes usually an hour and a half, but Emily told me that I'm only able to speak for an hour, so I had to cut this down, and Emily, I have to have a little bit of fun with you here today. She's probably blushing, but that's okay.
And Adam, we're actually going to push it. We are going to leave some time for questions, so I know Adam's got a lot of content here, and which we're going to dive in, and then we are going to leave room for about, I guess, 15, 20 minutes of questions at the end if people have them. So feel free to share them.
We can go through questions as we're going here. There's a box in your GoToWebinar panel that you can ask some questions, and Casey's going to be getting those for us to field and to talk about. But my main goal for you today is to open you up to some different ideas. And some of this you may have heard about, some of it you may not have, but I want you first to get present with me. I want you to get in the moment, and I want you to focus. You know, when you were a kid and your teachers would say, focus on me right now. Well, that is getting present, and I think the more we can all live in the present moment, it's called mindfulness, it's called present moment awareness, whatever you want to call it. You're here on this webinar. I want you to shut off the social media, shut your phone off, because I'm going to tell you that you're getting about $100 worth of content here today. I could charge for what we're giving you, and I want to give it to you in a way that you're paying attention. If you're not paying attention, you're not going to get a lot out of this. This is not a boring presentation, and Casey knows this because we've done this multiple times. You are going to learn a lot today. And what I want you to get present with me and be with me, okay? Take some notes. There are some handouts in the handout section you can click on and print out and take some notes, but there's going to be some good stuff. So let me just tell you a little bit about my path. I have been a student of life. People look at me and say, oh, you're a lawyer. Yes, I've been a lawyer for a long time, but what I really specialized in was learning about life and learning about business. When I got into the practice of law, I realized, man, this is difficult, and I figured out ways of running my law firm. I became a partner with this solo that I went to work for early on. I became a partner because I started networking as soon as I became licensed. I was out there talking to people, meeting people, and I cut a deal with this guy that whatever business I brought in, I got a certain percentage of. So my salary was based on the fact that I could make as much money as a business I brought in. And so I started learning about business and marketing and how to be a better person, how to meditate. I've learned so much reading thousands of books over the years. And so as a student of life, what I've done is I've taken all of this information and I've distilled it down into what worked for me. The fact is that you can learn a tremendous amount of information by reading, but if you don't take what you learn and implement it. So my call out to you today is to take what you're learning and start to read. And I'm going to end with this, but I'm going to tell you right now, never stop learning. We go to law school, we go to college, and we go to school for so long, and that's all our jobs are, is to learn. But the fact is, when we hit the law firm door and we become lawyers and we learn our craft, right? You learn your niche. You usually stop learning at that point. And I'm going to tell you, that's a mistake. From my point of view, there is so much to know about the business world because you are in business. I don't care if you're an associate, if you're in solo or medium firm or even a big firm or maybe getting close to retirement, you never should stop learning. And I'm glad you're here with me today because we're here
Adam,
to
you know,
learn.
that's been one of the biggest things in our work together has been this learning. You know, you think you know it all, but there's so much out there around beliefs, around motivation, around habits. There's so much out there around tactical business and automation, how to make more money that obviously we didn't learn in law school, and of course we didn't learn in you know, from our parents or from our family and so on. There's a lot of unlearning to do as well to be happy, to be confident, to really align with who you are professionally and personally.
No, I totally agree, and I just don't want any of you to stop learning. And there's a lot of you that are newer as new lawyers that are on with us today, or that will watch or listen to this. And I want you to start to implement that now because it
Yeah.
is that important. Don't stop learning because if you really want to be happy in life, you need to look outside the box that you've been put in. We're going to talk more about that here in a second. So why is it hard to be a lawyer today? You know, when I graduated law school in '97, there weren't a ton of lawyers, but we were getting to capacity then. And when I started to look at research for my book, Raising the Bar, to see how many lawyers we had and found some statistics on the ABA website, and I looked and I was like, man, we've got a lot of lawyers out there. There's a lot of competition for the law business. And over the past 10 years, it probably is a little bit more, 15 years, there has just been a flood of people in the industry. And there's many reasons for that. I'm not going to go into it. I don't really want to spend a lot of time on what the problems are. I want to spend time on how you can find ways to love the law. And if you're a law student listening to this is perfect timing for you to understand how you can look at the legal profession from the moment you step into it. You're already in it, right? You're in it when you're in law school. Yes, you don't have the opportunity to practice law until you pass the bar, which can be a daunting task at that. But you can start to look at your life a little bit differently now, and the stuff I'm going to teach you will help you in life in general. It's simple economics, everybody. We have a lot of lawyers. There's lots of competition. The other problem with the law, it's very fast-paced. There's a ton of stress that we do it to ourselves. Stress is self-imposed. Let me put it that way first and foremost. Most teachers do not teach this, and when I heard this years ago, I just about flipped out. I'm like, oh my gosh, I am doing this to myself, and I put myself under tremendous amounts of stress as a lawyer, and I didn't need to. So I want you to understand that you do it to yourself. We have a burdensome fiduciary duty that we take on for our clients as lawyers. I call it one of the most difficult professions in the world, and why is that? Well, I don't think it's as difficult as being a police officer or even a military person. People choose those lines of work, right? We choose our line of work as well. But our job as lawyers is one of the most difficult because it's adversarial. There is a lot of
Yeah.
pressure on us to perform, and the fiduciary duties that we have as lawyers makes it difficult. Many of us chose the law for the wrong reasons, and there's a lot of reasons why people went to law school, and Casey and I have talked about this on our podcast, as well as a lot of the stuff we're talking about. So if you haven't had a chance to sign up for our podcast, go to Love or Leave Law Podcast, or what is it, Casey? loveorleavepodcast.com, right?
Podcast, yeah.
It's on your notes. But we go through a lot of this stuff in depth with our free podcast. But one of the things that I got involved in the law for was I wanted to help people. So understand that when you become a lawyer, I'm going to take you back to that point where you became a lawyer. But understand when you became a lawyer, you got into it to serve other people. A lot of us got into it for the money. Not so much everybody, but a lot of us did because we think it's a good living. And it can be if you know what you're doing in business. It can really be a good living, and I can tell you I know firsthand that it can be a good living because I made a very good living as a lawyer. But a lot of us chose it for the wrong reasons. We don't understand that we are of service to people, other people. And finally, jobs are scarce. There's cutbacks by firms. You know, they say we're out of this recession that we were in for a long time. I don't know if that's the case or not. I didn't believe in it to begin with. But, you know, there just isn't a lot of real world training either. There's not a lot of education that happens in law schools, and it's getting a little bit better. I have a buddy who I went to law school with. He's doing that in law school. He's helping students become estate planning attorneys before they even graduate. He walks them through this, and I love that that's happening more, but it's still, there isn't a lot of real world stuff. You know, case law.
You know, Adam, before you get to the next slide, I want to say that what I love about you doing this, and there's obviously more reasons that people can listen, I encourage them to do it, but this is issue spotting. You know, this is kind of turning IRAC on ourselves. And you can view this as a depressing exercise, but also it's actually, in my opinion, very empowering to do something like this because you get to what the issue is. What's really driving me, as opposed to this just being some ambiguous anxiety or fear I have. You kind of really get to what is going on, and then that can help drive solutions or behavior change, which I know you're going to get into.
That's right. And every time you bring up IRAC, I cringe a bit. It's been a long time since I've been in law school, but I still cringe at IRAC. I just believe and know that law school education can be much different, and it can be more real world. And if I have anything to say about it over the next 40 years of my second career here, my next career that I'm in now, I will help that to be something that comes into the world itself. But yes, Casey, I totally agree with you, totally. So let's talk not about the negatives. A lot of that's not that negative, but it's just stuff that I had problems with, and all the attorneys I've interviewed for my book and my practice, asking them what are the problems in the profession. That's the gist of it. So let's get into the solutions. How can you start or begin to fall in love with the law? It is possible. I know this because I can tell you on my path early on when I became a lawyer, I said, what in the hell did I get myself into? I'm like, I'm going into court as a newbie, and I'm going up against these attorneys who really don't care about their clients. They're looking to generate fees. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. If we're here to be of service to people, and we're here to help people out of their problems, why are these attorneys creating more problems? And that's not every attorney. There is a lot of us that do this. And I sat there and said, there's got to be a better way. So I spent years looking for better ways. But in those years, I really hated it. I have to be brutally honest with you. I did not like it. But as I started to understand that my beliefs about the profession, my beliefs in general, created what I was feeling about everything, and then started looking at ways that I could start doing more of what I love doing in the law, around year 9 or 10, I had a partner that I was with for 10 years, right? And we split. The economy was going into the tank. Real estate law was not doing well at all. And I started to look at maybe breaking off from him. And then we kind of got together and said, hey, it's not working out. Let's go our separate ways. And at that point, that was the turning point for me. I knew that I could take and create a brand new firm from the ground up and make it what I wanted to make it, not make it what I had. This partner who had been practicing 25 years when I went to work for him, and he was kind of stuck in the old ways of doing things, and I wanted to break out into doing things differently. And so I started reading and going to workshops and reading every book I could get my hands on for lawyers. And there's a load of books out there for lawyers where it's why is the law bad, getting out of the law, unhappy lawyers, stuff like that. Now, there wasn't that when I was looking, but the fact is that there are a lot of books for lawyers that can help you to grow as a lawyer and in this profession. So I want you to remember back, why did you go to law school? Why did you become a lawyer? Think about the reasons for this. I want you to connect with those reasons, and if they were reasons to help others and to help yourself, it's all good. But a lot of us lose focus on why we became lawyers, and we don't remember why, and we get caught up in the day-to-day, and it's difficult to wake up in the morning sometimes and say, oh, I got to go to work. But when I started thinking back to why I went to law school, and I alluded to this earlier, I realized I wanted to help people. I wanted to help people, whether it was real estate closings, which I knew I was going to do, and this is one of the reasons I went to work for this partner that well, he was my boss at first, but I went to work for him because he did all kinds of different types of law. His main source of business was real estate, which I had a real estate license since I was 19, and to make a long story short, I knew that was going to be a big part of the practice for my practice because I knew a lot of realtors at that point. But I wanted to litigate. I wanted to figure out if I liked family law or probate, guardianships, and all of that stuff. And so I started remembering back, why did I go to law school? I wanted to help people. I wanted to help people get through their problems in ways that were easier and help them truly get past these challenges that they had. And that helped me tremendously. That helped me to get to a place where I'm here to be of service to other people. So if you have questions, please drop them in. We're going to answer some as we go. I don't see any questions yet. Casey, I don't see them. Are you seeing any questions?
I don't see them, but one thing that comes up a lot around the be of service, is that sounds kind of high-minded. It sounds like, working with, doing charity work or something. I mean, how do you tie, people could roll their eyes and say, be of service. Yeah, right. I mean, where does that really come into something that you can turn that into tangible work, making money, enjoying it, showing that value? Connect those dots a bit.
Yeah, I appreciate that distinction. The fact is that if you are a lawyer, you are of service, as we said, but the other part of this that most people don't understand is that whatever niche you're in, if it's a niche you really like and you're okay with, you can really love the law. If you're in a niche that you don't particularly like all that much, it can be a daunting task to find ways to love that niche. But one of the things is to look at the end result that you're getting people. Are you an estate planning attorney? You're helping people plan the end of their days and how their estate's going to get settled. Are you a litigator? If you're a litigator, you're dealing with people's problems, right? You're dealing with the fact that they've got a challenge with someone else, a corporation or a person, and they need help moving past that challenge. And so when you connect the dots of what is it that you do for people and how can you affect them in ways that really makes their lives better too, because that's really what you're there for. You're there to make their life better. Yes, you're there to make a living, but I always say, because I know this firsthand, if you make someone else's life better through the service you provide, through whatever you're doing as a lawyer, they will come back to you if that's what you do, if you do multiple things, but they will also refer people to you over and over again because they'll know that you care about them. And so connecting the dots of what is it that the end result that I'm giving my clients, that is the most important part. Everything in between, we're going to talk about automating all that stuff and helping you to spend more time with the client, because that's personally when I go into the Florida bar, which I'm a member of, and then look at all of the attorneys that get chastised or even disbarred. Yes, some of them steal money, right? I mean, that is a problem. But the bigger problem is a lot of them just aren't getting back to their clients. And I know an attorney that was disbarred years ago. He got depressed. He's in this place, and that's part of the problems we have as a profession. There's depression.
Now, Adam, we got a question from the audience around, and I know you're going to get to it on a few points on this slide, but what if you haven't? How do you figure out, a niche? How do you, the question is, what do you do if you haven't figured out a niche so far, and particularly in this economy? Is it advisable to take any type of work or still try to pursue an area of interest?
Well, of
So
course, yeah.
yeah, the
Go ahead.
first part is how do you find these other niches? How do you connect with them?
Well, what I did for the podcast, Casey, is I went on and put different areas of practice for law because I know a lot of niches, right? I've been involved in them, but there's a
Right.
ton that I don't even know about. And here comes all these websites with multitudes of different types of niches. And of course, we're going to talk about transaction versus litigation, right? I mean, you're going to be on one side or the other, but there's a lot of different niches that ride the middle of those that are both. And for me, what it really came down to is what did I want to do day to day? What did I want to be involved with day to day? Did I want to
Right.
be involved with the technical aspects of the law as a technician practicing law, or did I want to be involved in the business aspects of the law where I'm out networking and bringing in clients? And you and I have talked about this in the podcast, and it's very interesting to look at that
Yeah.
very theory, but you have to look at what you like to do. So I'll tell you, the majority of lawyers that do estate planning, they love it. I've
Yeah.
never met a group of lawyers that love doing what they're doing as much as estate planners. You have to have a certain personality for that.
Yeah.
Hey, I can't do that stuff. It's boring to me. It's very slow. It's the same documents over and over. That's just me. But the fact is that if that's kind of the stuff you like, document review and figuring out people's estates and the IRS implications and deeding property and all that,
Yeah.
I can tell you, estate
You know,
planning, people
you know,
love
I
it.
think I think it's a great point around really understanding what it is that you like to do. And that seems obvious, but if you do that deep dive on your own skills and strengths, you see what you like, or do you like transaction litigation? Do you want to be technical? Do you want to be more running the business? If you want to be technical, what aspects of your personality or skills or strengths fit with the certain technical requirements of area law? And then like you've talked about, get out there, talk to practitioners in the space. But it's simple, but it does take some work, but it's really aligning, like you said, what you're good at with the specific job requirements of that niche.
Well, and this is a beautiful thing because Emily and I were talking before this webinar a couple of days ago about what her department is doing. And what they're doing is amazing because she's got webinars of people that have done family law and
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
And that can give you some insight into
It,
what are the different areas, what does it take to practice law as a family lawyer. I can tell you, anybody practicing family law, I give you a shout out because that to me was the most difficult part of the
yeah.
law that I had ever been involved with. But I'll tell you, the ones that did it, they really enjoyed it and they were very good at it. I don't know if they liked it
No.
per se, but they were very good at it. But for me, it was too difficult because you're dealing with, people's livelihoods. You're dealing with splitting up their assets, and
Yeah.
it's to me it was gut
Maybe
wrenching. But
the
there
whole
are these
video.
webinars. There's
Yeah.
webinars that you can go on and listen to what it takes to be a real estate lawyer or a family lawyer
It's
or
a
an
great
estate planning
resource.
lawyer.
It's a
Yes.
whole video, a whole library of informational interviews.
Yes.
Okay, great. Jump ahead.
Okay. So
Let's
the
move
other
on.
thing is if you have a choice. Now, some of you, if you're new or you're in law school, you're not going to know a lot about these niches. And for me, it was just luckily stumbling upon someone that was referred to me by another realtor friend of this guy who did all these practice areas so that I could expose myself to all these different kinds of things. But one of the things that some of my friends did in law school, and I didn't do that because I didn't want to live in Michigan after I was done. I was born in Michigan. It was just too cold for me there. And I didn't want to live there. So I didn't go work as a law student. But one of the things I wish I would have done is go and spend some time working at different types of law firms because one of my friends from New York, he had worked for a law firm, a personal injury law firm. He knew exactly what he wanted to do when he got out of law school because he knew it. He was almost a paralegal at that point by the time he went to law school. But for me, it's exactly what you said, Casey. It's go out and start to talk to people. Go to lawyer functions. Go to some of the local bar association functions and start to network with people. You're going to meet all kinds of lawyers there that do everything under the sun. I mean, anytime I've ever been out networking, and lawyers are great referral sources for other lawyers. So if you are in private practice and you have the ability, you better get out and network because lawyers are the best sources of referrals for other lawyers, bar none, bar none. But yes, for me, what is it that I was passionate about. I wanted to start doing more of that. If you are a lawyer and you've been practicing for a few years, what do you do that you do like, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not even love. I want you to do more of what you like, which can build to loving that kind of stuff. But what is it that you're doing that you like? Do more of that. Do more of it. The
Yeah.
fact is, there are a lot of niche areas. Find one that you think you could love and go give it a try. Now, I know, Casey, some of the people you've worked with over the years have tried a bunch of different niches, and they get to
Yeah.
the point where, that webinar we did recently where the guy was on there and he said, I don't want to have any part of the law anymore. And I've
Yeah.
met people like that too. But I always tell people, if you've been in it for a while and you haven't tried a different area of the law, it behooves you to, because you spend all this money and time learning and
Yeah.
graduating and passing the bar. And even if you're in a niche that you don't really like, you can find another, you might be able to find, that's not set in stone, but you might be able to find another niche that you do really love. So it is really a weighing of the kind of stuff you want to do every day versus what that niche encompasses.
It is. And, I just want to jump in there. It's a great point in what I do. I help attorneys leave the law when they're at that point. But one of the main questions I ask, Adam, you alluded to beforehand, is, wait a minute, why are you leaving the law? And, if the reason isn't that substantial or they're just in a rough patch, that's not the time for this person to leave the law. They need to give the law another chance. They need to find another niche. They need to do that. And so I know there's been some questions here about, where to look for the practice guides and where these webinars are, and Emily will get back to you, or we'll get back to you on where those are.
Well, if you go on ABA, Emily, are you on? You can jump in and.
Yep. The webinar series that goes over the different practice areas is called the Career Choice Series, and there is a tab for it on the ABA Legal Career Central website, which is abalcc.org. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Emily. So a lot of great stuff there to help do this, and but Adam, I think it's try seeing, and I think for us, whether you're 30 years old, 35, or 40, it's like, oh God, I got to try something new from scratch. I got to be a beginner. But this goes to the point you said in the beginning, is that life is constantly learning.
That's right.
You see, I see TEDx talks from Bill Gates and from all these people who are veterans in the industry, and also they're gray hairs, they're over 50 or 60, and they still talk about how they're learning. And so when you get that idea of like, what, this isn't just another hassle or to-do on my to-do list, but rather this is me continuing to learn, it repositions it as in a more amenable way. And I've seen great results of people finding, real happiness in the law after they've done that.
Well, and when you look at this under a microscope, it isn't that big of a deal. You can learn another practice area. You just have to figure out someone that's going to help you. And this is part of the mentorship thing that I think all of us as lawyers that have been practicing for 10 years or more need to help other lawyers to do. But when you look at what I did, okay, let's talk a little bit about my path. I did a lot of different kinds of law, and I started to say no to a lot of them. I just was like, no. And so then it ended up that all I was doing was real estate law, and I did thousands of closings, sat in, and then it's like, how many times can you explain a real estate deed and a mortgage, and it puts people to sleep? I had fun with it. I made jokes and had fun, and it was very simple for me after a very short while, because I knew the documents, and there's really no problem that I couldn't solve because I had done real estate litigation as well. But then I started saying, I don't want to do closings anymore. I got to a point where I'd done probably 3,000 or 4,000 of them, and it's like, I went out and started to network and meet people, and I was the rainmaker. I was bringing in business, and I was dealing with the hiring and firing, and then started to create online videos to train realtors, who were then our bread and butter for our law firm and title companies, where we got a lot of our business from realtors and mortgage people. But I just started eliminating stuff that I didn't want to be involved with. I didn't want to do the litigation. Clearly didn't want to do family law. The probate and stuff was easy. It just didn't interest me. And the business stuff, I really loved it. And I know, Casey, you've got a lot of clients that nobody's ever touched the business stuff. They're associates or they're partners in firms, and that's not something that they could do in their position. But some people are appropriate when they look at going off on their own. It's just you really need to understand that if you are going to do that, if you're going to hang a shingle, you're going to go off on your own, you need to know how to run a business. That's one of the reasons I created Esquire Academy, for not only to teach people about life and learning about emotions and meditation and stuff like that, but to really teach people about how to run a business, because you don't know these things. We don't. We're not taught them in law school, as we said, but you don't know them in a law firm either. Even if you're an associate in a smaller firm, a lot of times you won't see that. And then the bigger problem is, even if you are an associate in a smaller firm, those lawyers running those firms don't really have a clue either on how to run a business, which is very sad. And so my mission is to tell people, start learning about business and marketing and get out there and start networking. There's lots of books that can help you get started with this. Casey, please.
Now, Adam, we got a great question from the audience, I think, on this point coming from your state down in Florida. But few attorneys are really helpful to a new solo in Florida. Is that because she suspects it's too competitive in Florida, too many attorneys, lukewarm economy? Question is, should people just move? And I think the broader question here is, if you're not getting a collaborative reception from other attorneys from the industry that can really help, if people aren't letting you stand on their shoulders and so on, what do you do?
Well, first and foremost, I would go to your bar association. I would join, and then I would ask them to set up a mentoring program. In Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, where I lived and practiced law for the whole time I was a lawyer, they have a mentoring program there that they've implemented, and it's been going 3 or 4 years now. And so if you can't find, look, Florida it's a difficult place to be. I don't know where he or she lives, but a lot of the bigger cities, it is more cutthroat. And I lived in Fort Lauderdale, and that's Fort Lauderdale, Miami. It's a difficult place to be a lawyer. It's not a small town type area, and people know each other, but they don't. There's just so many people that are lawyers. But go to your bar association and ask for help. I know they probably know lawyers that would be willing to help. Some, especially the lawyers that are a little bit older, that are moving towards slowing down. A lot of them would be so happy to help you to figure out the technical parts of the law, the technician parts of the law, how to practice. A lot of them, like I said, some of them will know business stuff, but if you're looking to find out how to practice in a niche, that's the first way to go. If not, call Broward County Bar Association and see if someone there will work with you if you are in Florida, because if it's something you can't find answers, start with the places that have these kind of mentoring programs.
And I think the bigger one, I think it's a great question. I think the bigger one, Adam, is due in part to, in alignment with the mission you're creating, that I know both of us are on, is that, this is a broader, global, like-minded community of people who are helping each other through the podcast, through Esquire Academy. So, what I'd add to your answer by saying to not be geographically limited. I think there's a lot of help that you can see now, and also please stay in touch with our podcast, because the idea that Adam has through Esquire Academy is to really create that support system across the country through the internet, through events, and through so on. So keep an eye out for what you're doing, because I know giving that support level is something that's really top of mind for you.
That's right. And what I am in the process of doing is creating a mastermind group of lawyers that meet online that can help each other. Whoever's asking this question, go to my website, Esquire Academy. Anybody that wants to sign up now, I'm going to offering to you guys a free 20 video course. It's called the Esquire Love the Law Challenge, and it's going to be a couple $100 at some point soon. But anybody that wants that information, go to esquireacademy.com and enter your information. You'll get 20 videos. I talk about a 30-day challenge, but you can watch those videos anytime you want when you have time. It's all about business and life and how to look at niches and looking at if the law is your purpose. I mean, Casey calls it unique genius. I call it life purpose. There's some of you on this call, on this webinar, that will leave the law because it really isn't aligned with you as a person, and that's okay. Most of you will align with the law, and so yes. But let's jump back in the slides if there's no more questions.
There's a few more questions that I'll get to in a sec, but I'm going to let you roll with a few points, and then we'll circle back to them.
Sounds good. I want you to learn more about business. I don't care if you're an associate in a big firm. You need to know more about marketing and business, and you need to get out there and network some if you have time. I mean, I've met plenty of associates that work in big law, and they don't have time. I mean, they just don't have time to take a breath. But I want you to get out and start to learn more about life and being in business. find, create, and build relationships with other lawyers, with referral partners and people that are business owners that could refer you business. Part of the problem that we have as lawyers is it's very difficult to make a good living, and if we don't know these business skills, then if you're in practice for yourself or you're part of a small firm, it's difficult when you don't have money at the end of the month to pay yourself. And I understand that. I've been there. And so the thing that most lawyers don't do is they don't get out there. So next, get uber organized. This was my problem. I had so much going on. I was working 10, 12, 15 hours a day as a newer lawyer because I became a partner so quickly, and here I am going to court. I'm doing real estate closings. I'm networking. I'm doing training for realtors. I'm doing all this stuff, and I didn't understand that if I got more organized and I really got things under control, it's hard to control things in life, but I read this book called Getting Things Done by David Allen, and I tell everyone I meet about it, and I talk about it incessantly because it is that good. If you've never read this book, it is required reading for everybody that's on this webinar. Why is that? Because he lays out so many ways to get organized and the reasons why we're not organized and how most of us use our email inbox as a to-do list. That is a surefire way to get sued for malpractice. You will lose things. You will miss things. You're going to miss deadlines if you're doing that. He also talks about doing brain dumps, which I love. I do them every month normally. I walk around my house, my office, everything, and I take down everything I need to do. That doesn't mean you have to do it all, but it's getting it out of your mind. And when you get it out of your head, then it's not going to be reminding you at 2 a.m., oh my God, I forgot to do this. Oh, I have to, all this stuff that we've got to do. So if you've never read that book, please do so. Highly, highly recommend. Then if you have the ability to delegate stuff you don't like to do, start doing it. If you have that ability, some of you won't have that ability, but if you do more of what you love and start to pass off the stuff that you don't really like, someone else can probably do it better than you. Now, lawyers are people. I'm one, so I put myself in this category. We think we can do things better than everybody else. I got news for everybody. That's not the case. You aren't better at everything than everybody else. There are going to be people that you're going to hire as part of your team that are going to be better at things. You know, one of the things that I really appreciated about my significant other, who's my law partner for 15 years, she's not been practicing as long as me, but she liked the stuff I didn't like to do. And that's why I was like, man, yes, please do this, do that. You like this? Please go to court, do all this stuff. I'll go out and bring the business in. And that to me was, I was delegating to her, paralegals, secretaries, and it freed me up to work on stuff where I could build the business or the stuff that I really enjoyed. Start doing more of what you're
Adam,
good at.
I want to jump in here, and there's a few questions here. We're going to get to them as best we can. One question that just came up on start doing more of what you're good at, Adam, was what if your personality is to dabble in many things? You know, this question is around law firms tend to pigeonhole people into niches. How can you address this issue where you like to do a lot, but a law firm wants to kind of pigeonhole you?
Well, first, if you can be real honest with your bosses and tell them what you really love to do or like to do, and you excel at it, and you come at it from an angle of this. You go to them and sit down and say, here's the way I feel about this. I really want to do more of ABC, and I'm doing a lot of XYZ, and I feel I could really excel at ABC. Is there a way to move me into doing more of those things? And be real honest with them. If they say no, tough shit, you're here, you're hired to do this stuff, then maybe it's time to look at doing something else. Go to work for a different firm or hanging your own shingle. And I don't say that lightly because I know leaving a good job is difficult at best. But if you're in a place where you're not really liking what you're doing, it's fine to love doing a lot of different kinds of things or even like doing a lot of different kinds of things. But if you're not honest with your employer about what you want to do, you're not giving them the opportunity to allow you to do those things or even to give you those things to do. And I think that's really what answers that question, is just to be honest with them. And some people will be okay with it. Others will tell you no. But what's the worst that happens? They say no. I mean, that's really all there is.
Yeah, and I'll just add to it by I think they may say no, but I think a lot of people out there may be open and interested in it. You got to give them a chance to
Yeah,
respond. I think the other point is that if you do your homework and really show that not only do you want to do a lot of things, but where you can add value,
that's right.
where you can bring in more money or where you can bring in more clients or where you can really optimize things. If you'd like to dabble in a lot of things, and I know you get into marketing automation, but if you're technical, if you like systems, if you like so on and so forth, it's kind of on us to show that we can really add value to the collective and use that to be persuasive in this new idea you have.
I read a book years and years ago, probably 15, maybe longer. It's called The Aladdin Factor, and basically what it says, it's a guy that wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul books,
Yeah.
Jack Canfield, and he says in this book, if you don't ask, you'll never know. And what's the worst they say is no. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not going to be painful. They're just going to say no. But they could say yes. And so that for me was always the case. If I didn't ask, I never would know, and I would sit back and stew on something that really I didn't have to be upset about. Until I asked, I didn't know the answer. Next, work out the stress. It is self-created. We do it by our beliefs and our perceptions. That's a difficult thing to understand, but when you think about that and contemplate that very statement, you'll realize it's true. You're the one that creates these emotions in you. It's not someone else doing it to you. It's you inside you doing it. But work out the stress. Go exercise. Get out and do something physical every day if you can. Tony Robbins calls it the hour of power, and I learned that 20 years ago in one of his seminars, and I've done it ever since. I work out normally an hour a day. Doesn't matter whether it's cardio or weights, something. I go out and hike with my dogs. Get outside if you can. Go to a gym, something. That will help you to release out some of this pent-up stress that you've got in you. I know. I used to have a tremendous amount of it. It made me sick. I was in the hospital with migraine headaches and then arrhythmias for my heart because I had so much stress. And next, meditation. I know that's a word that's thrown out there a lot, but it's just quieting your mind. And Casey and I talk about what are the, and I know this question's coming from him, so I'm going to cut him off.
You knew I was going to ask this.
I knew you were going to ask it.
What does this mean in reality?
Oh, man. Yes, in reality, a great meditation, if you've never done one, and even if you have done one, I'm an experienced meditator. There's a lot of different meditations I've done, and I do some basic ones a lot still. It's just to focus on your breath. When you focus on your breath in and out, you're connecting with that present moment that I talked about at the beginning. You're connecting with the fact that that's all we have is this moment right now. You can never relive the past, and the future never gets here if you think about it. So meditation is just getting to a place where you're quieting your mind. It's hard for us to do. We live our lives like our head is always going, our mind's going,
Yeah.
and that puts us in a state of a fight or flight, and it causes our adrenal glands to get maxed out. It causes stress on the body itself. None of it's good. And so
And Adam, I spoke with someone, how can I exercise, meditate? I don't have any time. How can I even do it? And someone posed a question back to me of, how can you not do it?
That's right. So the fact is, when people tell me I don't have time, I start to ask them, and when I do consultations with people and I coach people, the first thing I do is sit down with them and let's talk about your day. What are you doing every day?
Yeah.
How much time are you spending messing around on Facebook and Twitter and whatever? I can tell you most people spend hours on that and they don't even realize it. How much TV do you watch? I talk about this in Raising the Bar. How much TV do we watch? I don't care how busy you are. You're probably watching TV. You're on Facebook. You're on social media. Go take your lunch hour and jog for half an hour and spend the rest of it eating and cooling down. That's what I used to do. When I was
ironically, some of my best work, we are information workers. We think, we write, we think of ideas. And some of my best work is done when I'm exercising. I'm outside, there's no computer in front of me, there's no writer's block, and I'm able to think. And when an idea comes, I write it down, I send an email to myself with my phone, I put in my audio recorder. But, ironically, people say they don't have the time to exercise and so on. Not only does it help you just personally and from a health standpoint, but it also has helped me professionally because some of my best ideas have come when I'm out and about away from my computer.
Well, that's true. And exercise, and then a lot of people, including myself, I get ideas in the shower because you're not You're not caught up in
Yeah.
the drama of the TV or Facebook and who
Yeah.
did this and Trump and Clinton, all this crap. You're not caught up in that. So your mind, you're actually more in the moment. And so when we're going to segue into the next point, living more in the moment. We've talked about that, but when you live more in the moment, that is where ideas flow. When you live from your intuition and you live from a place where your mind is quieter, you can come up with amazing ideas, and your body will thank you for it. It will. Use technology to automate your practice if you can. If you have the ability to do that, there's amazing softwares out there that are built for lawyers to automate a lot of the stuff, the rote tasks that you do every day. Start to look at that automation, and that's a topic is near and dear to my heart, as you know, Casey, and it's a topic we're going to cover in depth on the podcast. So we're going to wrap this up here with a few final points. I'm going to teach you a few more things, and we're going to take as many questions as we can. I want you to remember, it's a small world out there. I want you to treat others as you would treat yourself, as you would want someone to treat you. It's that important. If you're a newer attorney, I have seen it happen, and it's happened to me, where newer attorneys, if they don't really understand what they're doing, they think getting loud and obnoxious is the way to make someone do what they want them to do. That doesn't work. And I'm going to tell you, karma, whatever you want to call it, whatever comes around goes around. I always look at this. In life, I try to treat everybody as I would want to be treated. And I know that's a religious thing. It's not for me. It's a way I live, and it doesn't matter who taught it. I think it's something that we need to realize, and we need to think about more as lawyers, because that has gone away from the practice of law. And in Florida, they had to pass some rule that we were going to be civil to each other. Holy moly. How bad has it gotten to where the bar has to pass a rule that we've got to be civil to each other? We've got to be more aligned with exactly that. Treat others how you treat yourself. Because if you do that, everybody starts to do that more, small groups of people doing that. That starts to shift the whole. And I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole other topic that I cover in many things I'm doing. But next, take time off, get some rest, relaxation, life balance. We talked about the exercise. We talked a little bit about this, attract ideal clients in your team. People don't understand that that's what we do. When they say, oh, attract a great mate, well, that's what we're doing in the world. We attract by what we think. Our thoughts are things. And if you don't realize that and understand that, that's something I want you to take away today, that your thoughts are things. And if you don't look at what the problems are you have with clients, because I can tell you I've had lots of bad clients in my life, and it pushed me to a place where I wanted to learn more about, well, okay, if I'm attracting everything in my life by my beliefs, which we're going to get at in a second, then how can I attract better clients? That may sound a little metaphysical. It may be a little out there. That's why I wanted you to get present with me, because your current belief systems may not align with that, but I can tell you I was right there with you in that. I said, what? How is this? I've never heard this before. Is this horse do? And I was like, nope, I'm going to look at this. There's a book called How to Attract Perfect Clients, and I read that, and it's like, whoa, what is it that I don't like about the clients I've got? That's holding it in place. How can I focus more on ones I want? And I did this step by step, and I said, okay, I don't like this about these clients. What do I want? I started focusing on that, and I started to visualize and feel all these clients coming to me, and don't you know, here comes the lot of them. And then I never had problems with clients after that. A lot of my staff did, because they, even though I sat them down and talked to them about resistance and all this other stuff, some of them finally got it, but some just kept beating their heads against the wall. I'm like, you want to beat your head against the wall with this person? They like me, I like them. They're not showing up for you like this. That's an aside, but you can put attention on what you want. So if you've never outlined what you want for your ideal clients, what do they represent, as well as your team? You can take a team that may not be ideal and turn them into who you want by sitting them down and saying, here's a list of qualities that I look for in my team members. Can you align with this? Can you be this kind of person? And if that person can't be that and they refuse, it's time to let them go find another place to work.
Yeah.
My old partner had a real problem with this. He didn't want to let people go, and it's like, man, if they're causing the business that we have harm and they won't change, they've got to go. And so that's when I sat him down and said, what are we looking for? And the people that came to us after that were much better. That's a big thing. That's a big thorn in most attorneys' side, is really nasty, difficult clients and staff that really aren't cooperative. Lastly, beliefs. If you've never read anything or heard anything about beliefs creating your world, they do. I'm going to give you a short introduction to this study. If you're interested, go get my book. It's $10 on Amazon. It will teach you how to start to look at what you believe. When I realized that this was the case, I'm getting these teachers and movies and documentaries, and I had a consultant that I paid a lot of money for many years to work with this with me. She said to me one day, she said, you know, you understand this intellectually that your beliefs create your world, but you aren't implementing this. And I said, okay, so tell me how. Well, first is to question everything that your mind says to you. Then I started to create questions that would elicit the beliefs in me about money, about law and lawyers and my relationship with my significant other, my health, everything in life. And I created these questions and put them in the book because it's that important. And the stuff that I'm going to teach in the podcast, which Casey and I just finished up recording 4 different 20, 30-minute segments on this, teaching people how to understand that this does work. And if people have ever, I have had people say to me, you're full of it, this is not the case. I said, that's a belief that's creating that in you, and you're not accepting this. So if you want to change, if you want to make more money, you want to lose weight. I lost 100 pounds by shifting my beliefs around food. I looked at what I believed. So where does this come from? And as I'm studying this stuff, in case you know this well as anybody now, beliefs are formed by the time you're about 7 to 14, your beliefs are done. And you just take on beliefs of everybody around you, your parents for the most part, society, TV, your friends, your family, and you never question what you believe.
That's right.
This point here, everybody, this is the biggest point I'm making today. Because if I can open you up to understanding that whatever you believe, you're getting in your life, and understanding you can change those beliefs. I heard it this way a couple days ago. A guy named Greg Braden, who's an amazing author who I absolutely love, and I'm very blessed to be going to see him next week in North Carolina, here where we live now. He says it like this. You have a folder of these beliefs in your subconscious. He said the only way to let go of those is to create a new folder where you're going to put new beliefs. And there is pathways to this that we clearly don't have time for today, but there's pathways to start to uncover what you believe, let that go, and implement new beliefs. So if you want to lose weight, you want to be healthier, you want to make more money, you want a career that you really love, it's time to look at what you believe around all of those things.
You know, Adam, this is huge because the beliefs that we have, and we got a few minutes left, I want to hit some questions, but you know, this is a huge point because the beliefs that we have from I'm not good enough, I'll never make money, I'm supposed to be an attorney, I'm supposed to live here, I'm supposed to take orders, I'll never be this. I mean, these are things that we may not be saying day to day, but we're thinking them, we're feeling them, they're in us. And it's a little touchy-feely. It's hard for us attorneys to really get to it because it's not kind of tangible or empirical, but these beliefs really drive everything. And I just think it's so important that you bring it up.
Well, you and I both hit the place where when we heard this, we were like, wait a minute, this can't be. This is not something I've ever heard. And then I realized that belief about beliefs was causing me not to believe in it, and it was holding me in a pattern where I wasn't getting what I wanted in my life. And so if I wanted to make more money, I needed to change my beliefs. I mean, it's that easy in the understanding of it. Now, implementing it takes a little bit of time. You have to do some inner work on it, and there's portals and ways to do this, which you will learn if you're with us any appreciable amount of time and you work with us in our community. But this is the most important point I want to make today. If you don't like what you're doing, it is around your beliefs, and you're going to have preferences no matter what your beliefs are. I have preferences that I have as a person, and preferences don't have to outweigh beliefs. But on a last point about this, if you are interested in this more, read Raising the Bar, read Greg Braden, read a guy named Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton. They talk about this in science. This is not wishy-washy metaphysical stuff, which I've read a lot of those books too, and they all say the same thing that science is telling us today. There's another great book called Heart Math by the Heart Math Institute, and it talks about how the heart has its own consciousness, how it communicates with the mind, and how that is an amazing way to start to shift your beliefs too. So there's a lot of resources available to people. Yes.
Sorry, Adam, on the note of books, what we did get a question just real quickly. The
Yeah.
title of the book, and then I want to jump to one last question. The title of the book on how to attract ideal clients, the name of the
It's
book and the author's name?
something like Attracting Perfect Clients. Just put that in Amazon and that should come up. Attracting Perfect Clients. It's by two ladies, and I read it a long time ago. It's sitting on my bookshelf, but I can't see it. So,
Okay.
Attracting Perfect Clients, something to that
And,
effect.
and we had a question here, and I know I want to ask this. This came in, and because we've seen this a lot. I think a lot of people would nod their head when they hear this. But bad situation at the firm. You feel like you did nothing. Personalities, illogical, kind of dealing with people that here that you'd want to chew your arm off just to get away. Trying to stay professionally responsible. You survive this personality clash or whatever it is, but it's shaking your faith in people, clients, other attorneys,
Mm-hmm.
judges. Essentially, your self-confidence is shaken. What was up is now down, and you're
Right.
just feeling like, what's going on? How, in the few minutes we have left, thoughts on how to really right size yourself when you've gone through something like this as a lawyer?
I've been there. I've done it. I've lived it for many years, and that was part of my problem as a lawyer for the first 9 or 10 years. Is I had that problem. I looked out at the world and I was blaming everybody else, but I didn't take into account that this principle that I'm going to just briefly talk about is what you resist persists. What does that mean? We are everything. We are everything under the sun. We can choose to go out right now and hurt somebody, punch somebody. We can choose right now to go out and hug somebody. We can choose, because we have free will, to do anything we want to do. And as a result of that, that means that we are everything, and there are things in us that we resist about ourselves. And we may resist other people that are loud and obnoxious and annoying, or that don't have integrity, or we think are just jerks. That's something in us that we could be. We could be that jerk. I've been
Yeah.
that jerk. I've been loud and obnoxious, as you can tell. I'm a little loud. I'm big. I'm 6'9", and when I walk in a room, people go, oh, geez. I have fun with that, though. But there are a lot of parts of me that I resist, and I realize that whatever I'm finding from others, I don't like about myself, and that's the
Yeah.
part of me that I've kind of pushed down, denied that's there. It's the yin and yang. It's the light and dark. It's encompassing the universe. We are everything, and that may be a little too much for everybody right now, and I don't want to get into it too deeply because we don't have a lot more time, but when you recognize that whatever you're resisting is an energetic focus that you've got, that's part of what you need to let go of first and foremost. The beliefs about those people are part of your problem. Now, you've probably
Yeah.
never heard what I'm saying, and if you are interested, I do teach this stuff. You've got to start somewhere. Take all of this stuff that I have compressed into Raising the Bar, the
Yeah.
book, How You Can Make a Life You Love out of a law career that you don't really like. That is what I did. All I did was take all this stuff, implement it in my life, and take thousands of books and compress them into one, and then Esquire Academy builds on that. I don't care if you ever read it or work with me, but understand that that is there in you. That's
Yeah.
there in you. And the more you realize that what you resist in you, you're going to find out there until you make peace with it. That's the key,
And
is
Adam,
making peace with it.
we're going to time. I know Emily wants to have some closing comments. Adam, thank you so much. Everybody, please check out Esquire Academy. There's so much more info that Adam has, that we have. And I just want to end there. Someone just wrote in saying, I have a lunch appointment with an older attorney who works in an area I want to get into, and it feels so good just putting myself out there, something I've resisted doing for a while. So
Good,
kudos to you.
good.
Everybody, there's a like-minded community. There's me and Adam, but so many others that are doing this. I like to say you're not alone. We're all in this together, whether we're in the same city or whether we're just, connected via the internet. So, Adam, thank you. I mean,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much.
One
Anywhere else where
last
people
point.
get in touch with you, and any last points?
One last point. All we have is our integrity. That's all we have in this world. You leave with nothing, but you understand that all we have is our integrity. I don't want you to ever stop learning if you can help it. That's the last part of it we've answered. Have we answered all the questions, Casey?
There's a few there, but I would just encourage, we can get back to them or they can email us. There's maybe
Well,
one or two
okay.
we
If,
didn't get
if,
to.
if there's questions for me, it's adam@esquireacademy.com. Casey, why don't you tell them your email address so that they have it?
Casey, C-A-S-E-Y at leavelawbehind.com, or you can always get us through the ABA.
Yep. Yeah, I appreciate being here. I hope you guys took a lot away from this. If you have questions, let us know. But I thank you for your time and attention, and I hope that this helps you to start to fall in love with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
And
Yes, thank you both, Adam and Casey, and for all that great insight for creating a rewarding career. And thank you all for attending today's webinar. Attendees, please be sure to check out our website at abalcc.org for upcoming free career-related articles and webinars. The recordings are on the website, but on the screen right now for you are some upcoming programs. This is the Career Advice Series that is once a month, and then the next slide is the Career Choice Series we referenced earlier, which discusses different areas of law if you want to explore a different area. And also on our website, you can search for jobs at jobs.americanbar.org. Before leaving, please complete our short survey, and thank you again and have a great day.
thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye-bye.